This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Let's go. Ready to start Sunday. Actually, I was kind of ready about an hour ago. You know, the whole time change, fallback sort of thing. It's all right. Ready to go. A loaded couple of hours with a lot of stuff to get into today. After a hugely busy Saturday and pretty busy weekend in the National Hockey League. Erik Erlendsson, Tampa Bay Lightning insider, will join us this hour. We'll get the latest on the Bulls. Wow, what a game between Tampa Bay Lightning and the Columbus Blue Jackets on Saturday. Also coming up in hour number one, Scott Billeck covers the Winnipeg Jets for Sporting News. He will be with us. We'll get the latest on the Jets. I like how the Jets are going. The result of the game on Saturday with the Montreal Canadiens notwithstanding, that they wound up losing it in overtime, and a few layers to that loss, and a lot of things to get into with the Winnipeg Jets and the Montreal Canadiens and that game specifically. We'll talk to Scott about all that. Really happy to have one of our favorite guests. He hasn't been with us in a long time, but we're super happy that he's coming back, and we got a lot of things to talk about because it's an important topic he always discusses, which is goaltending. And that would be Justin Goldman from the Goalie Guild. I have so many questions for Justin, and he is a coach, a consultant, has so many philanthropic endeavors. It's great. So we'll talk to Justin Goldman about that. And of course, it's Sunday. That means fantasy hockey getting set for the week that is coming up. Stephen Laidlaw, managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, to get you all set for the weekend. Streaming live at HockeyUnfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio. We are also live this morning on Facebook. We're live on Periscope. We're on YouTube Live. So many avenues to enjoy our program, with more coming online in the weeks ahead. And if you miss anything, hey, you can catch up on the podcast. So through iTunes, you can subscribe, through iHeartRadio, and of course, we invite you to now download the Hockey Unfiltered app through the App Store. Follow us on social media. I hope you are at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Todd at HockeyUnfiltered.com is the email. As mentioned, it was the whole fallback, spring forward. This, of course, was the fallback. So everybody is enjoying a little extra time today. Maybe you took the opportunity, get a little extra sleep. Maybe you're going to use it for something else, whatever it is. Make it useful. Do something. Maybe do something, a good deed, a little something in that extra hour. Whether you spent it sleeping and caught a little extra, that's fine. But just do something nice if you can squeeze that into. We've had a great weekend of hockey, as I mentioned right off the top. I think we've had a great first month of the National Hockey League season as well. So many games on just about every night you can watch and have your breath taken away at some point by a play or a series of plays or a couple of plays. And I have to think back, but over the first 30, 31 nights, whatever it is, there's a lot of times where I have felt and experienced real joy, real warm and fuzzy enjoyment of what I'm watching in terms of the game. I think it's really important too. I think we're at kind of a point where we could be on the verge of emerging into an evolutionary part of the sport. An evolutionary part. We're seeing it's been a long, slow transition, and this is the difficulty that some people have in terms of picking out parts of the game that they like or don't necessarily like at any given time. They compare it in snapshot form versus the evolutionary form in which the game evolves and changes. We've had so much fun, so much excitement, so much joy in the first month of the season. Have great goal scoring, a lot of skill, a lot of talent on display. Speed is like you have never seen or experienced before in the National Hockey League. Grace, mental agility, good hard physical play. Because I know that's the immediate response by people who say, oh, goal scoring's up and you're seeing more scoring and no slashing and no hacking and no holding and no hooking. Oh, well, you can't do anything physical. Yeah, you can. It is still a really physical game. That is a bogus claim by those making it. And the same kind of praise goes to goaltenders as well. In the first month of the season, watch the highlights, watch the games, whether it's online, on television, on your phone, whatever. There's probably 10 to 12 saves you could gather up and say, this is a candidate for the save of the year. And this is only the first month of the season. I'm not expecting this to change. I'm hoping to see a lot more of it as we continue to move through the 2017-2018 NHL season. Speed, talent, skill, it's on display for goaltenders, for skaters as well. It has been a joy. It has been a pleasure to watch. I have said for years, more scoring makes for a better game. It's more entertaining. It's more fun. It creates more excitement, both in the stands and at home. People are more engaged. It makes for a better game. But it's not just about the number of goals scored. I will give you that as well. But it is rare that a 2-1 game will exceed in excitement, in fun, and enjoyment a higher scoring game. It's rare. It does happen sometimes, but it is very rare. More excitement, more drama. I do appreciate that goaltenders bring a lot to the game. It's vital. It's important. Some low-scoring games are worthy of your times. A lot of the time, though, more is, it's just not there. More is always better. More scoring is always better. More is always better. I sound like Barney Stinson. More goals, more scoring chances. While some of that is about opponents making mistakes, that's not the reason we're having so much fun and seeing so much excitement in this season of the NHL. It's not just about mistakes. Sure, that's why goals are scored often, but not all the time. We are seeing goal scoring. We are seeing offense. We are seeing great plays because of great talent and great players. There are many examples that you can look at on any given night on just about any team in the NHL playing and say that is a talented, skilled, and exciting player. They are doing things that I want to keep watching. They are drawing me in. Goals are up, and that's positive. But teams and players are now being allowed to use that talent, to use that skill, to use their ability even more, to create amazing plays on a nightly basis. Whether it's 2 games or 5 games or 13 games like we had on Saturday. Goal scoring opportunities, more fun, more joy, more excitement. It's happening because of the players, because of the talent, because of the skill, and because they are being allowed to use it. Without doing too much math, here's the stat that's telling on how the season has gone so far through the first 200 games, which we passed on Saturday. Goal scoring is up in the NHL. On average now, there are 6.2 goals scored per game. That's through the first 200 games. That's a reasonable sample size. Goal scoring is up. Excitement is up. Engagement is up. It's more fun. That is good news. Now, here's the contributing factor. No doubt it's because of the more accurate enforcement of the slashing rule. Not the garbage that was allowed to continue and go on for so long, but a more accurate enforcement level of the slashing rule. So great. It's spectacular. It's wonderful. It's fun. And we get more goals. But that's not the only benefit. Enforcing the rule book in a diligent fashion is allowing for more goals. But that's not the only benefit of enforcing the rule book accurately. You now get to see how much players have developed and grown their talent, and they're now able to use their skill. You see how much players have altered their behavior already. Immediately when it was started, the enforcement level is, there's penalties. Here we go. But now you are seeing players able to demonstrate their skills. Lots of people whined about the penalties. Wasn't long before talented players, though, the best players in the world, understand what they can do, what they can't do in this new normal. They figured it out. It didn't take very long. In the first few weeks, they've figured it out. They understand this is going to be a better game. This is going to be a faster, more exciting game. Players with the puck can now use their full capabilities, their full talents, and even when they don't have the puck, they can. They don't have to worry about being victims of a swinging stick clubbing them down and impeding their progress and no penalty resulting from it. It's not just on breakaways. It's in plays along the boards too. People like the action. They want to see people fight for the puck. Great. Let's do it in a more orderly and more exciting and dramatic fashion rather than just the hack and whack. The big chop was pretty much standard procedure in battles along the boards. Players went into the boards, the stick chopping began. Not anymore. Because if you do that, you're going to get penalized now. It's not just about chopping and drawing the most talented down to a lower level. It's about elevating the play. It's about using more skill and finding a way to make a play rather than preventing someone else from making a play. Innovation will always win out. You have to be unique. You have to find a new way to play the game, a better way to play the game, to be more successful. Emphasizing skill equals more goals and a better game. Doesn't mean that you can't hit. Doesn't mean that the physical part of the play goes away. It just makes for a better game. Those that say there's no physical play and there's no hitting, that is a false narrative. They are putting it forth to try to draw down the competition. Those people don't want to see the game progress. Those people don't want to see the game better because they're not smart enough to think it forward and move and develop and grow the way the game does. The play on the ice is far superior now than what it was decades ago, despite what the old cronies will tell you. Oh, you can't hit anybody. You can't do anything. No, you had an inferior game then. Inferior talent was able to dominate superior talent because the rules weren't enforced properly. It is a way better game now. And this goes back to the great years of the Edmonton teams where Edmonton was scoring a whole bunch of goals and all the rest. The game is way better now because the overall talent pool, even though there's more teams, is way higher than it was then. Edmonton, yeah, they were a high-flying team. But if they had to compete against the level of competition in today's game, wouldn't be nearly as successful. The schedule used to come out, they'd look at it and go, there's a win, there's a win, there's a win, there's a win. Not today. Anybody can win. Look at the examples that we've seen in the season already. Skill is coming forward, not at the expense of physical play, at the expense of cheaters. And I'm okay with that. Way better game. It is an evolutionary process that we are now getting to. It has taken years. It started with the crackdown on the restraining fouls, stick fouls, the slashing picked up. That's been cracked down on. It's making for a way better, more exciting game. It is an evolutionary process, and we are at a very good point right now. That's why the rules constantly need to be reviewed and to looked at and massaged and augmented, because players improve. Players get better. Coaching methods improve, new ideas, innovation. So that's why you need to massage and adjust the rules. All those that just shake their head, act belligerent, and say you can't do this anymore, and you can't hit anyone, and you can't put a stick on a guy, and you can't hold guys up, they're afraid. They're scared that they won't be able to compete because they're not smart enough and they're not innovative enough. The game is getting better, and it's leaving those that want an inferior game behind, and that's a positive. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Follow us. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Scott Billeck will join us later on this hour. We'll talk Winnipeg Jets. Quite a game on Saturday between the Jets and the Canadiens. Jets have been on a nice rise through the season, notwithstanding the loss on Saturday against the Canadiens. And in the next segment, Erik Erlendsson, Tampa Bay Lightning insider. There is a smoking hot team playing in Tampa Bay. We'll talk more about that. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
The The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio. Coming up on the program, Justin Goldman from the Goalie Guild, Steve Laidlaw with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Scott Billeck will join us in a little bit. We'll talk Winnipeg Jets. Also want to talk a little Tampa Bay Lightning. In the 13 games on Saturday, the Lightning were winners over the Columbus Blue Jackets. Lightning insider Erik Erlendsson joins us. You can follow him on Twitter at Erik_Erlendsson. Erik, I don't know if John Cooper was thrilled with it, but it was an awful exciting game for fans to watch, that that overtime victory by the Tampa Bay, or excuse me, the shootout victory by the Lightning.
Yeah, it seems to be a trend this year in the league, doesn't it? Games that fans and the media love to watch and coaches hate to be behind the bench for. It's a wide open style of game. How many high scoring games have we seen this year? I don't know if that's a fad or just a trend. We'll have to see how it develops. But fun game last night. I think it's two. Obviously, number one, number two in the Eastern Conference with Columbus and Tampa Bay. I think we saw a lot of speed on both sides. I think Columbus wanted to come in and prove that the first meeting between the teams this year wasn't who they were. I thought Tampa wanted to come in and show that it was who they were. So I think we saw a lot of speed on both sides, a lot of skill on display. I think John Cooper was happy with the game. I think he was a little disappointed in the third period, up by 2 goals. But other than that, I think he saw a lot of good things go on in that game, knowing that Columbus wanted to come in and kind of make a statement last night.
It was a nice finish to the Tampa Bay Lightning, who celebrated their Stanley Cup team last night, bringing almost all of them out, all that were able to make it onto the ice, introducing them. Torts was there. Of course, he coached that team, so it was the nice warm and fuzzy before the game starts. But this Tampa team this year, there is something about them. I mean, everyone expected they were better than their record last year. Many people thought they just kind of ran out of time to make it back into the postseason. Could have been interesting if they had. But I think they've even gone a step or two further than I expected this season. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, when a team misses the playoffs, when they have the expectations on them like Tampa did last year, you're going to hear the word hunger thrown around a lot during training camp as they talk about missing the playoffs, what it meant, and all this other stuff. And sometimes it's lip service, but I don't think it was in Tampa's case this year. They know they fell short of expectations last year. And, losing Steven Stamkos for almost the entire year, losing Ryan Callahan for almost the entire year, you're going to feel those losses in your lineup, and I think that factored somewhat into what happened last year. You've got those guys back healthy. They are hungry because they missed almost an entire season because of injury. So I think that's what it is. I think they understand that there's a lot of expectations on them, not just externally. They have a lot of internal expectations for themselves, and I think they're just going out to kind of prove that they are a legitimate cup contending team. They are a team that is going to be among the favorites in the league, and they want to go out and they want to play like it. And when you've got Kucherov and Stamkos playing the way they are, you've got Andrei Vasilevsky in net his first full year as a number one, proving that he is a true number one in this league with his early play this year. It's, coming on the back of what happened at the tail end of last year when Ben Bishop was traded. Just a lot of factors that go into the start that this team has had. I think they are a hungry team, and I think that they know that they're going to be measured this year, not if they make the playoffs, by what they do in the playoffs.
Erik Erlendsson is with us, Tampa Bay Lightning insider. At Erik_Erlendsson is how you follow him on Twitter. Bolts were victorious over the Columbus Blue Jackets in a shootout, big high-scoring shootout on Saturday night. You mentioned the injuries to Steve Stamkos, to Ryan Callahan a season ago. That put a lot of stress on other players taking on larger roles. And I think even though we talk about those injuries and how impactful they were for the Lightning, I'm not sure that we understand how injured or beat up some of the rest of the roster was. Tyler Johnson missed time. Andre Palat missed time. There were so many other players on that team that were also beat up with injuries because they had played so much hockey in the previous couple of seasons. You almost want to compare it maybe to the LA Kings of a couple of years ago when they played a lot of hockey and then struggled to make the playoffs.
Yeah, especially a guy like Tyler Johnson. He broke that wrist in the 2015 final against Chicago, and he wasn't able to train very well. It affected him the next year. Had the long run to the Eastern Conference final. Again, he wasn't able to train as properly as he wanted to. Having missed last year gave him a full summer. It's like the first full summer Tyler Johnson's had in a long time. If you think about the runs that he's been on with the minor league team. And, he played for Team USA in 2014 at the World Championship. So, this was a really good summer for a guy like him to kind of get a full training in and get ready. He looks leaner. Guys like Anton Strawman, who played a ton of hockey from the 2014 Stanley Cup final, the 15 final, Eastern Conference final in 16, Team Sweden at the World Cup. Guys like that have played a lot of hockey. They got a lot of rest. But I'll tell you the other thing that it did, as all those players were banged up last year, it gave opportunities for some other guys on this team to find roles that maybe you never would have expected. One of those guys is Braden Point, who had to step in and basically be the number one center for the final month. Played very well, paired with Nikita Kucherov. Not that, anybody could probably look good playing next to Nikita Kucherov, but Braden Point's been terrific to start this year. A guy like Yanni Gourde, who's an unknown, undrafted player, was given an opportunity last year, made a huge impact, earned himself an NHL contract, now is in a second-line role on this team. So those injuries opened up some doors for some other guys. And now when you get a Stamkos and Callahan back and you get a Tyler Johnson and those guys healthy again, feeling better about themselves, and you integrate these new sort of, the Braden Points and the Yanni Gourdes, that kind of drives the team a little bit higher as well.
Another one of those players, too, that got a lot more attention last year, and he's taking advantage of it, is Jake Dotchin on defense, another good young defenseman through the Lightning system.
Yeah, he was kind of an unknown, too. He was in his third-year pro last year. He hadn't gotten any chance to come up to the NHL level. He's playing well for Syracuse last year, gets a call-up in January, and doesn't go back until the end of the season. He proved a really good partner with Victor Hedman. He brings some toughness to the team, especially around the crease area and what he could do in those areas. They want him to be a physical kind of player, but he had a really good second half. He got himself into some issues in training camp where he was pseudo suspended for some preseason games for violating a team rule. I think that set him back to start this year, but I think he's going to start to find his game. And, as long as he can continue to play well with Victor Hedman, he's going to have
Now, we haven't talked yet about the combination of Steve Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov, but Kucherov, the one thing that struck me is you understand that players that make it as far as the NHL, they're passionate, they are driven, and they want to succeed. Kucherov has really displayed that a couple of times early on this season, and it was a couple of games ago where he was on the bench and he smashed his stick 100 times before it finally broke, and just you could see the passion that is in his game and his will and his want to succeed every time he's out on the ice.
Yeah, we see that quite a bit. He made some comments over the summer that kind of got him in some hot water with some people. When he kind of called out one of his teammates, we think was Alex Killorn. But people thought that was a guy who was, kind of being a bad guy in the locker room. But I see the passion in a statement like that. I see a passion in a guy who wants to win, and he wants to win. Again, we talk about lip service, but many of the conversations I've had with Nikita Kucherov, he wants to win. His goal is to win a Stanley Cup. That's his goal in life, and you see that come out. He wants to win. He wants to help his team better and be better. And the fact that he's an elite goal scorer, is going to help him be that kind of a player and drive this team. He really does have a lot of that passion, and it comes out quite a bit.
It seems that I can understand why people would get upset about comments like that, but it's not that Kucherov is necessarily diminishing his teammates. He's trying to drag them along with them in a leadership sense, it seems to me.
Absolutely. It's absolutely, I think, a leadership thing. He wants to be a leader, and he's not going to be a vocal leader. He's a pretty quiet guy. But when he makes comments like that, I think that's what he wants to do. He wants to kind of light a fire. He wants to, ignite that passion in somebody else, one of his teammates. To be better. So I absolutely see it that way. And, when you're talking about a guy who put a synthetic ice sheet in his garage at home here in Tampa, he didn't go anywhere. He stayed in Tampa, and he worked a lot on his shot in that garage that he set up for himself, just practicing shots all day long. That's how motivated and how passionate he is about being a better player and wanting to win. Yeah,
it's and we're seeing that shot on display on a regular basis now with 14 goals. Andrei Vasilevsky has 11 victories in 13 games. That is a big workload for a guy who's just getting the number one job in a market that there's going to be a lot of focus and attention with Tampa, and the expectations are high. Will we see more of Peter Budaj coming up in the weeks and months ahead, do you think?
I think so. If you look at their October schedule, it was pretty spread out. They only had 2 sets of back-to-backs. So you understand why you want to, especially as well as Vasilevsky was playing, you want to ride him a little bit. But, they head out west here for a game starting Wednesday in L.A., and they get a back-to-back Wednesday in L.A. and Thursday in San Jose. I'd expect Budaj gets one of those. They got a couple of more back-to-backs coming up this month. It's a little bit of a busier month. I think there's 15 games they play in this month as opposed to the 12 they played in October. We'll start to get to see a little bit more of Peter Budaj, and they're going to want to kind of get him going. He sat around for a while before he made his first start in New Jersey, about almost 2 weeks into the season. And if you go back to the preseason, that's almost 3 weeks between starts. He was fighting the puck early. He struggled in the first period against New Jersey before he kind of found his game a little bit. So they're going to want to make sure that he's not sitting for too long of a period of time, even as a veteran who understands his role. It's not easy to kind of sit around for that period of time and just practice and not get any game action in.
Yeah. Now, just before I let you go, just real quick, do you think they'd start him against LA after all the crap he took for playing out there last year? I think it would be a good thing, and I think it'd be a cool opportunity. But I don't know if you want to throw him into that.
I think they would. Sometimes you look for extra motivation players might have in a situation, and maybe throwing him against a team that he played for last year and played well for last year would be a little bit of an extra motivator. They don't give out, John Cooper doesn't like to let his goalies be known until game day, so we'll never get an answer on that, no matter how many times we ask the question of them. So we'll have to wait till see from Wednesday, but logically it makes sense.
That would be cool. I'd like to see that. And I'd like to see him have a great game as well. Erik Erlendsson, Tampa Bay Lightning insider, at Erik_Erlendsson is how you follow him on Twitter. Good stuff today, Erik. Really appreciate the time, and I'm sure we'll do it again soon.
I look forward to it, Todd. Thanks.
Thank you, Erik Erlendsson, with the latest on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Big victory over the Columbus Blue Jackets on Saturday. They are smoking hot at the start of this season. Be a good test for them going out west, playing against the California teams, and especially with the back-to-back. I'd like to see Peter Budaj play in LA. I'd like to see him have a good game. I'd like to see him win, because he took a lot of unnecessary and undeserved heat from Kings fans about his play last year. No, he's not Jonathan Quick, but he wasn't your problem either. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Coming up after the break, Scott Billeck will join us. We'll talk a little Winnipeg Jets, a team that has been moving in the right direction. Did suffer a loss in OT against the Canadiens on Saturday night, but Winnipeg looks a lot better now than they did at the start of the season a month ago. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio. Lots to get to today. Busy program with Justin Goldman from the Goalie Guild ahead. A lot of goaltending questions around the NHL, so we will get into that with Justin in our next hour. Stephen Laidlaw, of course, because it's Sunday. He'll be here at his regular time with the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Busy Saturday in the National Hockey League. The Winnipeg Jets played host to the Montreal Canadiens. The 3-game win streak came to an end for the Jets, but a highly entertaining game between the Winnipeg Jets, who have improved their fortunes significantly in the last couple of weeks. Scott Billeck covers the Winnipeg Jets for Sporting News. You can follow him on Twitter at Scott Billeck. He joins us on the line now. Scott, things have really turned in the nice direction for the Winnipeg Jets, climbing up in the standings after some early struggles. This team seems to be pointed in the right direction. Yeah,
and it's interesting, and to talk about the Jets now and how they're doing, and you were just talking about how you're going to talk later in the show about goaltending, and that's really the name of the game right now for the Jets. Even though they lost last night, Connor Hellebuyck, who's been a revelation for the Jets this season so far, he stops 45 shots, lets 5 in, but if the Jets would have kind of maybe limited the chances a little more defensively, it would have seemed that the Jets on any given night have this chance to win now with Hellebuyck in the net, and they kind of turned to him early in the season after Steve Mason, who they signed on July 1st for $8.2 million for 2 years. He was supposed to be their number one, and he kind of let, I think it was 11 goals in his first 2 starts, lost them both, and he's only seen the net now, I think, twice since then, and Hellebuck's played 9 in the last 11, and he's 7-0-2. He's the winningest goaltender in the NHL right now that doesn't have a loss in regulation, unless that changed from last night. And so he's been unbelievable for them. His save percentage and goals against average are way up with the top of the league, the guys there, and he's kind of led the Jets on this, recent rich vein of form, I like to kind of say in European soccer and that sort of thing. So it's just just the way that they're playing right now is pretty incredible, given how well, and the Jets haven't had goaltending like this in a long time. So, and they've always been told that, fans have been told here that goaltending can kind of get you to the playoffs. A good goaltender can do a lot of things for a club, and fans are starting to see that now.
Well, the play of Connor Hellebuck, we saw little flashes of it at times last season. He was kind of given a lot of starts last year, and let's see what you can do. And he showed moments of it, but I don't know if it was training, if it was teaching, if it was just he needed a bit of a reset with the summer break. But has he said anything that has been a key to his success and his turnaround to such a consistent high level of goaltending in the first month of the season?
Yeah, so he started 56 games last year, and it was up and down for him all season. And he, at the end of last year, he didn't say it at the end of last year, but last year when he came back to training camp this year, and he talked about what happened after last year and what he did during the summer. He said he lost his confidence. Said he had to go and try and find that confidence again. And then he hooked up with a guy named Adam Francile, who works out in Kelowna. He works at, I think it's called the Net 360 program. He's worked with such goalies as Devin Dubnyk, James Reimer, Eddie Lack. And the key word and the buzzword kind of around here, and it's kind of turned into a bit of a joke, but Connor's talked about biomechanics and how he's had to kind of change his game in the way that he moves in the net and that sort of thing. And he's done that. And you can actually, if you watch him for a long enough period of time, and you saw him last year, you'll see that he's more square to the puck. He's moving quicker in the crease. He's playing more out in the crease. He's doing all these different things that are different. And it's helping him to make the saves that he maybe didn't make last year when the Jets needed him to, when the Jets were giving him a lot of shots and that sort of thing. And maybe Connor would let him, a bad goal or soft goals, so to speak. And now this year he's not doing that. He's making these saves, the timely saves. And then he's also making the big saves. There was a save last night in overtime that he made on Pacioretty before Pacioretty scored the game winner later on. Across the crease, makes this huge save, right? And those are the saves that the Jets did not get last year. And now that they're getting them, they're getting more chances to win. And and we talk about goaltending, and the Jets, if we shift kind of their defense and offensive game, that's where they now have to start getting better. I mean, they have great offense, the talent, obviously Blake Wheeler, Mark Scheifele, Patrick Laine. All these guys can score. Nick Ehlers, I should mention him as well. All these guys can score. But the defensive game, they've had to get much better since the first 2 games of puck management, limiting the 2-on-1 odd man rushes and that sort of thing. So, it's kind of like, if the Jets can kind of even out what they're doing offensively and defensively, as long as Connor stays where he is right now, even if he kind of regresses a little bit towards, still very good numbers, but even if he comes back a bit, I think the Jets will still be fine.
Scott Billeck is with us. He covers the Winnipeg Jets for Sporting News. At Scott Billeck is how you follow him on Twitter. The Jets win streak stopped, but a great game between the Winnipeg Jets and Montreal Canadiens on Saturday night. You mentioned a lot of names with the Winnipeg Jets, Blake Wheeler, Patrick Laine, but the one I think not enough people know exactly or just how good he is, probably because he plays in Winnipeg and Winnipeg hasn't achieved the kind of success that they're hoping for, is Mark Scheifele. Because when you watch him play, sure, it was great storybook that he had the hat trick in front of his parents a couple of nights ago, but boy, oh boy, is he a talented player.
Yeah, I mean, before last night's game, he was on pace for 103 points. And, last season, I think that would have been the top of the league. But, it's just the way that Mark Scheifele has kind of turned into an elite player, an elite center, an elite two-way center into this league is, it's kind of been remarkable. And it's been interesting to watch as a member of the media to see, where he was just a few years ago, still, getting sent back to junior, going back and playing for Dale Howard, Chuck and Barry. And just, the Jets have always preached this draft and develop process, and it gets a lot of criticism around here. But Mark Scheifele he's that guy that he's been the prime example of how that can work. And Scheifele went through a lot, and the disappointment of going down, and now he's just turned into a player where you should be mentioning him with the likes of the Jonathan Taves and
Yep.
in the Crosbys, and just in the point production and the way that these guys are elite two-way centers, and that's what Mark Scheifele's turned into, and so it's no surprise this season that he's scoring, he's assisting on goals, he's playing on the power play, he's playing on the PK, he's obviously playing 5-on-5. The Jets are turning to him. Head coach Paul Maurice is turning to him in every situation and every phase of the game, and it's just a testament to how well he plays and to what he can do in special teams and just in 5-on-5 situations.
Now, he did have a goal for the Winnipeg Jets last night, but do you know why hockey has become so hard lately for Patrick Laine? I mean, it's. I don't think that this is a big deal. Some people, I think, are making a really big deal about it, but he's, I think, just expressing his frustration, and I don't think it's going to be all that long before he's popping goals on a regular basis for the Jets.
Well, it's funny, too. He's scored twice in his last two games. And before the game against Dallas on Thursday, he talks about, I'm not confident in my game. Hockey's really hard right now for me. And he was very candid. And it's always refreshing when a player's, quite open and honest about how he's feeling and that sort of thing. And then Laine, he doesn't make any bones about how he's feeling. He'll tell you exactly how he's feeling. And he did. And then he goes out and he scores. And then after the game, you ask him about it. He's like, it's just one goal, right? Like, this guy is super hard on himself, and I kind of have this theory that because the Jets were doing so well and all these goals, and Scheifele and Wheeler and Ehlers all got hat tricks, and Laine is just, he hasn't had a hat trick this year. I almost think that the young player is feeling left out of the scoring, and for a guy who scored 36 in his rookie season, it's just. I guess for him, it's just a bit of a disappointment that he hasn't. But, last year, and he mentioned this too, through 11 games last year, he had 6 goals. This year he had 4. Now through 13, he has 6. And so he's not far off last year's pace. And he's kind of had a bit of a slower start in other areas of the game. And I think that's maybe where he thought maybe he would improve a little bit more. I think the score isn't always going to be there. His goals have just become, because his shot is so ridiculous that he can shoot from anywhere and score. And it just like last night, Blake Wheeler misses. He's driving to the net, kind of misses on those deep, loses the puck, and Laine is right there and fires it home. And it just goals. His goals seem to just come out of nowhere. And he's had some success but not as much as he'd probably like on the power play. But I think it's just a matter of time for Patrick. I think. He doesn't want to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about the sophomore jinx, but I think teams are adapting to him, and now he's got to start, refining his game a little bit to kind of adapt to how the league's adapting to him. But I don't think there's going to be any issues going forward. And yes, like you say, it's probably just a little blown out of proportion because this guy is a natural goal scorer, and goals are going to come naturally to him, and that's just the way it is.
Well, you're right in terms of the league is not stupid. When they see a player of his talent and caliber come in and see him score as many goals as he did last year, it's, we maybe need to pay a little more attention to this guy when he's lined up at the top of the circle on the power play, all cocked and loaded and ready to unleash that one-timer on us. So he's getting more attention. But you're right. It's a matter of him developing and growing his game a little bit to find new ways to score as opposed to just relying on one method. That's what great goal scorers do, and that's what he'll likely have. And if it's a competition in a sense between he and Nick Ehlers, well, that can only benefit both of them, and thus the Winnipeg Jets.
Well, and you've seen how Nick Ehlers is kind of, and it's interesting with Ehlers and Laine and Brian Little, who centers that line, and that line hasn't been, if you look, you look at the production of the top line and you look at that line, it's not as good. A lot of Ehlers goals have come on the power play and that sort of thing, and they moved Mark Scheifele now to kind of where Laine was setting up, that kind of Ovechkin Island or whatever you want to call it, that kind of where Ovi would sit, and he would, and now they've kind of moved Scheifele over there a little bit, and Scheifele's been taking that as, on the power play when teams are kind of, spying on Laine, it's allowed Scheifele to get a few goals. So maybe Patrick's not scoring as much, but it's kind of opening up these opportunities for other players because, you know, he's the guy that they're watching. They know he can score from anywhere. Anytime the puck's on the stick, it's dangerous. And so it has benefited the Jets, and well, maybe it hasn't benefited Patrick maybe on the score sheet. And Paul and Reese even talked about this. And Patrick's game doesn't always just have to be scoring. They want him to be able to play well 5-on-5 on the power play, just doing the little things in hockey that are right, you know, to also help the team. He doesn't always have to help the team. And of course he wants to because he is a sniper, and that's what snipers want to do. They want to score. But you know, Paul Maurice also wants him to be able to play the game too, right? And so even though he hasn't been scoring, Paul talked about the little things that Patrick's been doing, just getting on pucks and being physical. And then he saw a little bit of that last night. I forget who he rocked behind the net in the second period, I think it was. And you know, it's just those little things that are going to make Patrick Laine a big player. He's a big guy, right? Like he can be physical.
He is.
You know, he can be that power forward, right? So you know, there's little things that he can do. So I mean, the scoring's going to come, and if his game gets better away from the puck, I think that's just a benefit.
Yeah, if he plays a little bit more like Blake Wheeler, that'll be a huge plus for the Jets. One other player I want to ask you, one other player I want to ask you about is Brendan Lemieux, who was called up and has been in the lineup. He did get his first goal in the NHL for the Winnipeg Jets. Now, going back a few years to when he was drafted, he was pissed when he didn't go in the first round. I talked to him about it after. He wasn't happy, but he seems to have used that as motivation. I don't know if this is a direct comparison because I don't know if he has the same offensive ability, but if he can play a role kind of the way Matthew Tkachuk does for the Calgary Flames, Winnipeg fans will be thrilled with him.
Yes, and you know, he is the nicest kid off the ice, so well spoken, like talks about how he's blessed to play here. He's blessed to play with guys like Matt Hendricks and stuff like that. Some of the stuff is kind of funny because you see him on the ice and you know, he's jawing at people and he's fighting guys. He had a fight 2 nights ago against Dallas. I mean, he was throwing like Bob Probert out there. It was pretty ridiculous just to see this, you know, this small, diminutive kind of guy who just running around. But the Jets, you know, I guess he has kind of channeled that, and he's had to, you know, one of the things that Paul Maurice has talked about is this team and the early story, and I'm all over the place here, but the early story is of the season here was the bottom six wasn't producing, so they bring Brendan Lemieux up. Brandon Tanev's been playing well as well. But, you know, they have now these guys that are grinding it out, and that's kind of the game that Brendan Lemieux plays. And he got his first NHL goal the other night, and he's just this, you know, poop disturber, for lack of a better term. He's out there. He's running around. He's hitting people. I remember in his first game, I forget who he hit, but he turned back to him, and you could see it on the Jumbotron. And you could see him saying all day, like he was going to come at this guy all night long, right? And you know, it's that sort of thing. And the Jets they haven't really had that guy who's kind of gets under guys' skin, right? And still he plays really on the edge. And one of the knocks against him in the AHL was that he took a lot of penalties. But he's kind of channeled that intensity into a different way up in the NHL. And I think he knows that. I think he knows if he's in the box all the time, he's not going to play. And at that point, he becomes, you know, dispensable. And then the Jets can, you know, there's a lot of competition now for those spots. And I think what's kept Lemieux here over other guys is that, you know, he brings something that the Jets just don't have, and another guy who can run into guys, who's not afraid to do that, who's going to go hard into the boards, going hard into the dirty areas. He'll stand up and fight a guy. We've seen that, and he can still produce offensively if given the chance. So, you know, I think Brendan's done well, and you know, it'll be interesting to see here because Adam Lowry's coming back from injury. You know, something's got to give, and Brendan's one of those guys who Paul Maurice calls waiver ball, where they can send him down and it doesn't. But you know, it's almost like Brendan's kind of earned that spot now, and
right.
So, you know, do you take him out? You know, he's been so valuable, it seems, over the last few games that it would be hard to, you know, take him out when Lowry returns. So it's going to be interesting to see. Jets are going to have, you know, it's a good headache to have. Paul Maurice kind of referred to that. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do with a guy like him who is playing well.
Scott Billeck from Sporting News covering the Winnipeg Jets. At Scott Billeck is how you follow him on Twitter. Don't ever worry about wandering around. There's a lot of good stories to cover with the Winnipeg Jets. We're good with that. Scott, thanks for the time today. Appreciate it, and we'll do it again soon, I'm sure.
Yeah, I appreciate you having me back on. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Scott Billeck, covering the Winnipeg Jets. They're a good team. They're playing really well. They stopped taking those bad penalties, as Scott was talking about. Brendan Lemieux has played a physical game. You can do that, but you can't be a liability to your team and have them killing off those penalties all the time. I don't know how much offensive ability he's got, but if he can play on a third line, chip in with a bit of offense, be a tenacious checker, and stir things up when necessary, that's a good role for Brendan Lemieux. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports is the Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Lots to get to. Man, this first hour is flying by. We'll take the break. Lots more stories to cover when we come back.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Look, we know it happens. Life gets in the way and sometimes you can't catch the live edition of Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. But we've made it easy for you to catch up on the show you might have missed. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis is available as a podcast on iTunes, iHeartRadio, and Blog Talk Radio. You don't want to miss an episode. If you missed the live show, check out the podcast. Don't miss any shows. There's a test coming up later. Subscribe now. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Use the code Get the Savings. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis listeners save with Seat Giant and the promo code TODD. That's TODD at SeatGiant.com. Just log on to SeatGiant.com to find the best tickets to NHL games, concerts, or whatever you want and save. Use the promo code TODD. That's TODD when you check out and you save. Canadian listeners can save at SeatGiant.ca. That's SeatGiant.com and .ca. Cutting-edge design for manufacturing, Nova Product Design. Industrial design, mechanical engineering and design. Nova Product Design provides experienced design for parts and assemblies, manufacturing, assembly, and serviceability. From plastic parts to sheet metal forming, mold and tool design, injection molding, and more. Nova Product Design. Visit novaproductdesign.com to learn more.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, the Sunday edition, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio. Here every Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. You can subscribe to our podcast as well if you missed a show, including our little Saturday podcasts, which drop on Wednesdays. It's a little weekend in the middle of the week. They drop Wednesday afternoon, just a little hockey talk to carry you through. Subscribe to our podcast through iTunes, through iHeartRadio, and download the Hockey Unfiltered app at the App Store. Streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Periscope. We are on YouTube Live. Man, this first hour is flying by. A lot of good stories, a lot of good things happening in the first month of the National Hockey League. So much excitement, so much skill and talent on display. And no, not at the expense of physical play. Teams are still using the body and still using physical play as a tool. But it's the restrictions and more accurate enforcement of the rule book, especially that slashing call that we have seen so often, that is allowing teams and players to succeed, to put their talent on display, to use their ability, to use their skill to be successful. The game is evolving in a very positive way. I'm really excited about it, that this first month of the season, watching game after game every night and lots of highlights and reading lots, you get to see the progression that has taken place. It's not an instantaneous thing because change is hard, change is difficult, and people are so resistant to it.
but there's a lot of reasons for excitement, and we've seen it. Scoring is up in the NHL through the first month, an average of 6.2 goals per game. Now, the same thing happened a year ago. Scoring was up in the early going, but it quickly tailed off and went back down to the 5.5 or so goals per game on average. I'm not expecting to see that same quick kind of drop off. The freedom that players have now, the ability not to be hacked and whacked and slowed down, it's allowing them to show their skill, to show their ability. I'm anxious to see how some teams do with this moving forward. We're just talking about the Winnipeg Jets. They're a team that I'm anxious to see. They're overachieving as far as I've thought so far this season. They had that win streak snapped by the Canadiens. How do they react? How do they bounce back? Connor Hellebuck has been sensational in goal. Was Steve Mason ever going to see the net again? Probably at some point, but man, oh man, they have been good. Florida, boy, they had a couple of big losses at home. They lost in overtime to the Rangers on Saturday. Now they're going out on a road trip. Maybe this is good for them, but they're a team I'm going to keep an eye on. It's kind of been a bit of a speed wobble in the early going. Roberto Luongo getting hurt certainly didn't help their cause. He's back. He made some big saves in that loss to the New York Rangers on Saturday. But at the same time, Roberto Luongo, to me, is just kind of looking a little tired of getting hammered on a nightly basis. He's getting older. Injuries have taken a bit of a toll. He's had to work hard to come back from them. And there's times I watch him play, and I see the frustration as he fishes the puck out of the net. And he's always had that standard, sigh, look up in the air when a puck goes in, and he doesn't care for it. But it just seems like it might be getting to him a little bit more. I mentioned this a week or maybe a couple of weeks ago now. Goaltending is going to be an area to watch for the Florida Panthers because they have no depth there. Bobby Lou, James Reimer fall off a cliff. Is Antti Niemi still on the squad? He shouldn't be. If Luongo is healthy, like he was a desperation ploy when they plucked him off waivers from the Pittsburgh Penguins, who couldn't believe how good their fortune was. But he's not going to be around for much longer. But goaltending is an area to watch going forward. This isn't a long term. I'm not saying an immediate move, but this is a long term need that the Florida Panthers are going to have. San Jose Sharks are another team. Won again at home, low scoring. 4 straight victories now, 3 in a row at home. They won the last game of their road trip. This team looks to be settling in to doing their thing, just playing as expected. Brent Burns still doesn't have a goal, but they're winning. As long as they're winning, things are going to be okay for the San Jose Sharks. Martin Jones is the best goaltender in the NHL that doesn't get as much talk about his talent as some of the others. He suffers a bit from the East Coast bias. People talk about Carey Price, talk about Braden Holtby, talk about some other goaltenders. They don't talk enough about Martin Jones and how good he is. Jonathan Quick gets the attention because the LA Kings have won Stanley Cups. Martin Jones doesn't get the same attention. He is that good. He is an elite goaltender in the NHL. Some of the saves he has made, he has just settled right in. Rangers are another team I'm anxious to see. They've won a few games in a row now. They go back home to face the Columbus Blue Jackets on home ice on Monday. That'll be interesting. Habs probably have an interesting week ahead of them as well. We'll see how long Carey Price is out. We'll dive into that and a whole bunch of other stories. Look ahead to games coming up this week and much more in hour number 2. Sunday edition, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with much more after the break. So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis.
Hour number 2 of the Sunday show. Busy one ahead, lot to get into, lots of goalie talk because our friend Justin Goldman from the Goalie Guild will be joining us. Oh yeah, lots of stories with Justin. We'll get him to focus on a whole bunch of goaltenders in the NHL, ones that are succeeding, ones that are struggling. But just ask him, he'll tell you it's the most important position on the ice. I joke, I tease, but it's fun. It will be a good conversation, as it always is, with Justin Goldman. And, of course, because it's Sunday, here for his regular appearance, managing editor of DobberHockey.com, Stephen Laidlaw, with this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. Managing editor of DobberHockey.com. We'll have 5 names for you to keep an eye on. 5 names for you to check out your fantasy hockey pool. Need a little help with scoring? Need a little help with something? This is the only place you will find the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. We appreciate your feedback and look forward to the conversation. It has been good in the first hour. We'll continue it in the second hour because it has been a good first month of the NHL season. Fun, exciting, goal scoring, skill on display like we have never seen it before. Yes, the crackdown, or rather the more accurate enforcement of the rule book, has certainly played a role. And it's not just pushed goal scoring up, which it is, 6.2 goals per game on average for the first 200 games of the NHL season. It has allowed players to use their full capabilities out on the ice. It has allowed them to demonstrate their skill in ways that we haven't seen on a regular basis before. It's allowed them to try things. How many spin around back passes have you seen this year? Way more than in years past. There's a freedom out on the ice. Now there are going to be detractors that are going to complain and gripe about it and saying, oh, you can't hit anybody anymore and you can't put a stick on a guy and you can't do this and you can't hold guys up. They're wrong. It's better for the game. You're right. You can't do all those illegal things anymore because that's not going to be tolerated anymore. You can't hold guys up. You can't water ski. You can't slash. You can't hook. Whoever said, I want to see more of that in the game? Well, those that are living in the past, perhaps. Oh, yeah, the game used to be so much better. You had to fight for everything. I don't think it's an easy red carpet path to the net anymore in the NHL, if you ask me. Oh, you don't pay enough of a price. No,
I don't have illegal things done to me now as I'm trying to take a shot or make a pass or get to the front of the net or skate up the ice or chase a loose puck into the corner or against the boards. Oh, you can't do that anymore. But we have more scoring. We have more exciting game. We have more speed than we ever have before. Oh, yes, all the detractors, they love the benefits. But they don't want to endure any of what's involved with the change. It's people with a long-term vision that see that this is best for the game. Oh, you can't do this anymore. Right, because the game has evolved into a better place now. It has a wider appeal to more people. Oh, yeah, I don't have to take all that crap anymore in the corners of getting shoved in the head and a punch in the back of the head while I'm trying to fish out a puck. Oh, don't even suggest change. Just because even the suggestion of change to many causes them to say, nope, don't like it. It's not going to be any good. Even before you try it. Well, we've tried this for a while now, and the game is way better. Players are allowed to use their skill, demonstrate their talents, score more goals, create a more exciting environment, both in the building and for those watching on small screens or on televisions or in a bar with a group of friends. It's a way better game. It also has other benefits because the most talented players in the world get to use their full capabilities, their full complement of talents out on the ice. They get to create a higher caliber of hockey. And with that, you get to see more comebacks, more changes in scoring, more shifts in momentum, which creates more excitement in the game. Not just one goal comebacks either. It wasn't that many years ago. If you got a 2-goal lead, you could sit back and put your feet up for the rest of the night because there was no way anybody was getting enough chances at offense to even think about scoring those goals to come back in that game. If you put on a game or listening to a game, you saw that the other team was up by 2 goals, you checked out at that point. Can't do that anymore. Not just 1-goal comebacks, but multi-goal comebacks because of the shift and the evolving of the environment of play. Great examples of comebacks, great examples of games with lots of scoring and lots of excitement and lots of fun occur every night. There was a whole bunch of them on Saturday. At one point during the evening, I'm watching because I have the center ice package, and that's how I like to watch the game, sitting at home at my place. There were 4 games going on that all wound up being tied 4-4 in the third period. All 4 went to overtime. 2 were decided in a shootout. I don't know, is that a numerology thing because of all the 4s? 4 games, tied at 4, went to a 4th period. 2 were decided in overtime, 2 were decided in a shootout. Panthers and Rangers, Lightning and Blue Jackets, Jets and Canadiens, and the Avalanche and Flyers all finished with a 5-5 score, with one team coming back. How do you not enjoy that? How do you not like that? How do you not push and promote for that kind of environment and atmosphere? It was actually a really wonderful kind of frustration because I'm sitting with my remote control and I'm trying to watch all the key moments of these 4 games all going on simultaneously, and I don't want to miss anything. Now, I jumped around. I did the best I could. I saw some winning goals. I saw some shootouts. But this is the kind of excitement that we're getting on a nightly basis now. Now, you're not always going to have 13 games as there were on Saturday night. But this is the kind of thing that can occur and does occur on a regular basis now in the NHL. Couldn't do it before. Players with skill and talent are allowed to use it to its maximum. This amazing talent, these amazing plays, they weren't even imaginable a few years ago. And it doesn't just happen. It's a process. We have evolved to this point. It's not just snapshots looking at hockey today versus hockey 10 years ago versus 20 years ago versus 30 years ago. It has evolved. The game continues to evolve. And it's great. You can see examples of these unbelievable and amazing plays on a nightly basis. Tampa and the Blue Jackets, two of the best teams in the Eastern Conference, and it was back and forth. Both teams had great plays. They were astonishing. Now, in a couple of games on Saturday night, I saw things that'll just make your mouth drop open and hang there for a while. Tampa Bay Lightning's second goal came on the power play, but still. Here's how the play went. It went from the stick of Steven Stamkos to Mikhail Sergachev to Nikita Kucherov and into the back of the net in perhaps a second. And that doesn't tell you the whole story. That's a great, three-way passing play. The puck also went back and forth across the ice through the defenders. Sergachev is 19, Kucherov is an experienced 24 years old, and Stamkos is the old man at 27. This was a thing of beauty to watch. It never would have occurred years ago because players would not have been allowed to use their talent and skill because penalty killers would have been hacking and whacking and chopping. This was not because of some colossal breakdown by the Columbus Blue Jackets. They were doing a good job. This was one of the 4-4 games in the third period. This was one of the comebacks. Tampa was up 2 goals in the third period. Columbus still came back. It was remarkable to watch. Oh, and by the way, there was hitting in the game. Because I looked it up, and the hits were 22-21 for the Columbus Blue Jackets. So 43 hits in the game, not bad. And there were some big ones in that game, too. There were some big hits in that game. Another game that involved multiple players doing things that many of us could not even imagine doing. It's a late game. If you're watching in the East, Pittsburgh Penguins finishing up their road trip in Vancouver against the Canucks. And in the early going, if you were tuned in near the start of the game, you got to see something special. Pens on the power play, and they have amazing and talented players. We've gone through the Pittsburgh Penguins power play lineup before. It's pretty outstanding. But what they were able to do on their first goal on Saturday, it was comparable, maybe even better than what the Tampa Bay Lightning did against the Columbus Blue Jackets. So the puck's carried by Jake Guentzel behind the net of the Vancouver Canucks. He sends it up the boards to Evgeny Malkin, who feeds it into the middle to Sidney Crosby, who's in front of the net. Now, what does Sidney Crosby do? Well, of course, he back passes it between his legs to Phil Kessel on the other side of the ice. Kessel fires the puck back across to Jake Guentzel, who is waiting at the side of the net and pumps it home. It's 1-0, just like that. It was unbelievable to watch this. And again, Vancouver's not doing anything wrong. They're doing their best to try and defend really talented, skilled players. But you can't chop. You can't hack and whack. You can't slash. This is a good thing. We see beautiful, spectacular, and wonderful goals. If you happen to catch the Pittsburgh Penguins broadcast of this, Bob Erry, who is the analyst and has seen a bazillion games and played in a bunch of them and won Stanley Cups, and he's done it all. But what Bob Erry said after this goal goes in by the Pittsburgh Penguins, Bob Erry said, I don't even know what to say. When someone who has seen as much as Bob Erry has is as stunned and amazed watching this talent on display, I think the game's in a pretty good place. To see that level of skill on display, because players are able to use their talent, it's marvelous. This isn't just good players. This isn't just a good power play. This isn't just about poor penalty killing. This shows how much players have improved and are allowed to succeed because the rules are being properly enforced. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, Twitter and Instagram handles. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. Really looking forward to our next segment, a little goaltending talk with our friend Justin Goldman from the Goalie Guild. Oh, yeah, there's a lot of things to get into because I got a lot of goalie questions. And before we're done, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5, #Fantasy 5, the only place you'll find it here. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back with much more after the break. There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. It's the Sunday edition. Join us every Saturday, every Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles to follow us. Todd at hockeyunfiltered.com is the email. We are streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio. We're live on Facebook. We're live on Periscope. We're on YouTube Live. If you miss an episode, don't fret. You can subscribe to our podcast through iTunes, iHeartRadio. Go to the App Store. You can download the Hockey Unfiltered app. That includes our little Saturday podcast, which drop on Wednesday afternoon, sometimes mid-afternoon. A little midweek hockey talk. It's a little weekend in the middle of the week. Thus the name, the Little Saturday Podcast. And we'll have more hockey talk through discussion. Before the hour is out, our friend Stephen Laidlaw will be with us for this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5. The only place to find it here at Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. I'm really happy to welcome our next guest back to the program. It's been a while since he's visited with us. He's been so busy. He's been around the world. He's a goaltending coach, consultant. He is the creator of the Goalie Guild, and he has a lot going on. The Twitter handle to follow him is the Goalie Guild, and Justin Goldman joins us back on the line. Justin, it's good to have you back. It's been too long. How are you? Things look like they're pretty good in life right now.
Yeah, things are awesome, man. I got married over the summer. My wife is from Finland, so traveled a lot back and forth between the two countries, just trying to get all the immigration stuff taken care of. And so that pretty much dominated my life for the summer. And then I closed things up with the annual NHL goalie camp in Madison there at the end of August. So, again, a special treat to be on the ice with 8 NHL goaltenders, soak up all the knowledge, take care of the video responsibilities, and then, boom, next thing you know, it's the beginning of the NHL season, and we're already 1 month in.
Congratulations to you and your wife. And yes, I know that immigration stuff and filling out forms is a process, but you'll get there. It'll be worth it in the end. And I also understand that you have now become an emergency backup goaltender for the National Hockey League. Tell me about how that process goes and what you have to do. Is it like a Broadway audition? You prepare a song and you go and stand up on stage? How does it work?
It's really interesting. It's just a new rule in the NHL where every home team is required to have an emergency amateur goaltender in the stands in case there's an injury. I mean, we've seen it happen so many times over the last couple of years. The first one that comes to mind is the situation with Roberto Luongo and James Reimer in Florida, and then the goalie coach Robbie Tallis almost having to come into the game. So I think the NHL is just trying to, have a precedence in place or have a protocol in place, where, if that situation does arise again, the teams aren't scrambling and the game's not put on hold for 15 or 20 minutes while they try and get someone suited up in gear. So it was really interesting. I think every NHL team has a little bit different, guidelines and rules for how it works. I know a couple of teams like the New Jersey Devils and the Los Angeles Kings had open tryouts. With Colorado, it was a little bit different. I've had a good relationship with the team for a number of years. I used to do radio broadcasting on post-game shows and stuff like that. And so, they've known that I've been a pretty competitive beer league goalie for a number of years down here. So they called me up and I helped them compile a list of other, amateur goalies in the area that fulfilled a couple of requirements. And, they shipped off that list to the NHL and the NHL approved it. And so there's actually 6 or 7 of us here in the Denver area that split the season schedule. So I think I got slated for 6 games over the course of the season. My first game happened to be Thursday night against Carolina. And it was a very interesting experience because, you dream about something like this all your life, the opportunity to just somehow magically find your way onto an NHL bench. And it doesn't matter how old you are or what type of talent you have. I mean, the dream is always there as a beer league goalie. But then when you actually get to the rink and you drop your gear off and, you're in the stands and you're in that atmosphere of an NHL game, it's kind of crazy because you realize suddenly you're just like one freaky play or one crazy moment away from getting geared up and sitting on an NHL bench for a game. So, amazing experience. It was really cool too because it happened to be Colorado's Hockey Fights Cancer Night. So that was special for me as well. And so just a kind of a whirlwind experience, but it's super exciting, I think, to know that this is probably the only league in pro sports where this type of opportunity exists, where literally a guy with no pro experience can somehow possibly find his way onto a bench for an NHL game. I just think it's something that makes hockey really unique. It makes the goaltending position really unique, and it's just a cool experience for all the guys around the league that happen to be a part of, this emergency goalie position.
Well, we're not wishing ill will on anyone else, but I do hope that you make it into a game. I think that would be really, really cool for you. That'd be a tremendous experience. And you're right. It's a unique situation that's kind of necessary because of the position and because of the league. So you got to see Semyon Varlamov play one of his best games recently then too. Was it the 57 save game on against the Carolina Hurricanes? That was an unbelievable event by him.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty phenomenal because the biggest thing about that was he gave up a stinker of a goal less than a minute in. So, that's how it goes, I think, when you're an Avalanche goaltender. If you give up an early goal, you can't allow it to rattle you. You can't let it ruin your confidence because you are going to see a lot of shots. This is a team that's been giving up, I wouldn't say a lot of quality chances, but that game against Carolina, a lot of shots were pretty easy for him to see. He didn't have to deal with too much traffic, and it was the type of game where it was run and gun. I mean, Colorado didn't have a lot of shots, but it was pretty good pace and definitely sloppy in the first period, and it had sloppy moments throughout. But I think Varlamov, I mean, every time we talk about him on this show, it's the same thing. He is as gifted skill-wise and physicality-wise as guys like Jonathan Quick and some of the more explosive goaltenders in the NHL. He's so strong down low. And that strength that he has with his pads and on bad angle plays and along his posts going side to side, it's deceptive. And I think that's what you see with Jonathan Quick. It almost looks like effortless, but he has such good core strength and he's got such great body awareness. I mean, he was on top of everything after that pretty stinky first goal. And the shots just piled up. I mean, Carolina threw everything at him. I was really impressed with the young Finnish guy named Sebastian Aho. And Carolina's got some offensive power. So I think it was just one of those games where after he gave up that goal, he got dialed in because he saw so much action. There were a lot of penalties called in that game, which has kind of been the status quo so far this season. And he's rolling right now. And I think I definitely got to make sure I give credit to Jussi Parkkila, the first Finnish goalie coach in the NHL. These guys have had a long time friendship and working relationship that's lasted over a decade, going back to Semyon's time in the KHL. And great move by Colorado, because trying to fill the gap left by Francois Allaire is pretty much impossible. But when you find a guy that's got a long time friendship with, you know, the goalie that you need to ride to make it to the playoffs, or at least have a shot at making the playoffs, I think it's a pretty good situation for Colorado and their goaltenders moving forward.
Justin Goldman is our guest from the Goalie Guild. At the Goalie Guild is how you follow him on Twitter. Coach, consultant, emergency backup goaltender, and our friend. So let's talk about another goaltender that you just mentioned in Jonathan Quick. He is healthy this year. He's having the bounce back season that I think everyone was expecting, but I think he's also exceeding those expectations. He's looked great in goal for the LA Kings.
Absolutely. And I think health is first and foremost. I mean, when you feel good physically, you feel good mentally. I don't think he's at a point where he's been the last few seasons where he's trying to find that consistency and that confidence. I think he's got the entire package right now, and not only does he always make it look effortless, but I mean, his post play has always been one of his strong suits, at least in the last 3 or 4 years. And I think just the way the game has kind of evolved, and I know you were talking about this earlier on your show, with all the penalties being called, how much open space there is in these high quality scoring areas, it's right in his wheelhouse. I mean, anything low to high, below the goal line to the middle of the slot, finding pucks through traffic, covering loose pucks in the crease, he's just on top of it. And there's so many good things to like about his game right now, but the biggest thing to me is just you can see the confidence in his skating ability, his decision-making, you know, whether he's going to be more aggressive on a shooter and challenge, or, you know, be a little bit more economical and make sure that he's covering some potential lateral threats or backdoor plays. I mean, it just seems like he's reading the game extremely well right now. No, I haven't watched every single minute of action that he's played, but the games that I saw, including one against Montreal a couple weeks ago, was pretty outstanding. And he definitely looks like the Jonathan Quick that we've become accustomed to when he's winning Stanley Cups and Vezina trophies. So it's awesome to watch, because this is, again, if you're going to have a long career in the NHL as a top flight goaltender, even if you do have a bad season or you have a couple of bad months, you're going to find a way to work through it. And if you continue to evolve your game and evolve your game plan and your positional strategies, and you continue to learn, you can have a very fruitful NHL career. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing with the quote-unquote re-emergence of Jonathan Quick as an elite goaltender.
Yeah, it's been really something to watch this year. Now, when goaltenders are elevated or take over the number one position on their teams, it doesn't always work. It's not always a smooth transition. It has happened and worked pretty well for Matt Murray, who's won a couple of Stanley Cups. And in Tampa, Andrei Vasilevsky got the gig last year when Ben Bishop was traded. This season, he's been the starter right from the beginning of the year, and he's been sensational. I'm not sure how much you've seen of him, but he's been really good, and he's been everything that's been advertised in terms of, here's the next guy that's going to be our number one goalie for ages to come.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen too much of Vasilevsky, but I have a pretty good friendship with Dave Alexander, who is now the goalie coach for the St. Louis Blues. But previously, he was in the Tampa Bay organization with Syracuse for, I think, 3 or 4 seasons. So he played a very, very big role in the development of Vasilevsky since he came over from Russia. And I think the sentiment there was at the beginning, he needed a little bit of time to make that transition to the culture of playing hockey in North America. The language barrier, just shifting into a totally different world that he wasn't really used to in the past. And you could talk about the technical aspects like the smaller rink and the amount of traffic and the north-south hockey compared to what you would see in the KHL. But to me, I think the biggest thing for him is that he had the guidance of two very good goalie coaches in Alexander and Franz Jean in Tampa Bay. And so he was able to really put together a lot of pieces of the puzzle in a short amount of time. And, the games that he did get last season, he had some really good tutelage from guys like Ben Bishop and some of the other goalies in the organization around him, even a guy like Mike McKenna. He soaked it all in, and he's definitely a very coachable goaltender. That's one of his biggest strengths, is not just the fact that he's a freak with his agility and athleticism to fill the net, but he also wants to learn as much as he possibly can. And so I think he put a lot of pieces together very quickly after he made that transition. And again, there's always that mental side to it, knowing that you're given this opportunity to really run with it instead of, hey, even if you have a good game as a backup, you know what? You're still going to be on the bench the next game. Now it's, hey, man, the ball is in your court. This is your team to run with. And that breeds a lot of confidence for a goalie that has a lot of talent. He's definitely making the most of his, former first-round draft pick pedigree. And this is a guy I think is just an amazing guy to watch if you're a younger goaltender, because he has all of the assets that you want to find in a guy that can play 65 games and lead a team deep into the playoffs. So I just think it's a combination of the coaching. Obviously, I mean, you never make it to this point and have this type of success unless you have good coaching. But he's also been able to put a lot of pieces of the puzzle together in a pretty swift amount of time after making that initial transition to North American hockey. And I mean, he's off and running. There's not a lot of holes in his game right now. It's just a treat to watch him play if you get the opportunity.
Yeah, one more quick one, Justin, if I can, before I let you go, is since you mentioned the Blues and Jake Allen and Dave Alexander, the new goaltending coach there, he too has been really good at the start of this year, but his change almost seemed to take place last season after the coaching change, and I can understand sometimes that helps a goaltender. He got to work with Martin Brodeur a little bit last year, but he seems to be elevating himself and his performance up to the upper echelon of the league as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, Jake wasn't at this camp in Madison this most recent summer, but last summer, it was the same thing. Coach Alexander was out there, and I think Jake really appreciated and enjoyed the opportunity to, have Brodeur around for a little bit. They're two very different types of goalie coaches, of course. Brodeur with the recent playing experience, and Dave Alexander is more of a technician and really, really progressive with his coaching style. But to mesh those two things together and to know that, Jake really thrives on his skating ability, his edge work, and his ability to get from one point to the next with balance and stability and control is second to none right now. And so, again, it's a guy that maybe had to battle a little bit of that confidence and the inconsistency over the past two seasons, and now it looks like it's all coming together. When you have that comfort level and you've got a guy that you can go to talk about anything, because with Jake and Dave, it's, these guys have known each other almost half their lives. So there's absolutely nothing that Jake has to hide or has to fake, so to speak, when it comes to, discussing certain things with Dave. And when you have that in your back pocket and you know that you can be yourself, you can be your own goalie. You can go out there and express yourself however you want to, moving the puck, making some more dynamic saves, being aggressive, and not always trying to be a certain type of goalie. I think that's what Jake needs, and I think that's what he has right now. And he's making different types of saves, but he's always relying on that foundation of his skating ability. And right now, if you talk to goalie coaches around the league, all saying the same thing. It's your skating ability. It's your ability to adapt when the puck does crazy things at higher levels. And if you can get back into position, if you're caught out of position, because the game's going to put you in tough spots sometimes, you're going to have success. And Jake is able to do that extremely well. So it's been awesome to watch him as well. And I mean, yeah, the goals are up around the league, and I know there's a lot more scoring opportunities, but I think you're going to see goalies start to rebound just a little bit. That save percentage will creep up, and it's going to be really interesting to see how it kind of unfolds the rest of the season.
He's Justin Goldman from the Goalie Guild. Check out thegoalieguild.com. Follow him on Twitter at the Goalie Guild. Coach, consultant, emergency backup goaltender. Congratulations again to you and your wife, Justin. It was so good to have you. I could listen to you all day, and hopefully we can do it again sometime soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me on again. I really appreciate it. Keep up the great work as always, man, and thank you so much for having me on.
Appreciate it. Justin Goldman from the goalieguild.com. I like listening to smart people talk and explain things and give you lots of good information, but not make you feel like it's just blowing over your head. I think Justin is the best at doing that. Lots of good insight, lots of good information. He's technical without being too technical in that sometimes people get their eyes glazed over. I think he's really smart. And I'm really happy we're able to get him on to talk about goaltending today. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. We'll take the break. A little follow-up ref talk from yesterday. Josh Smith from Scouting the Refs was with us yesterday. A couple of ref talk things I want to get into after the break. And, of course, Stephen Laidlaw coming up before the hour is out. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Back with more after the break.
So you had to get groceries, take your daughter to dance class, and a pipe burst in the kitchen. You missed Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. No problem. All of our shows are available as a podcast right after the show airs, so you can listen when life gets in the way of hearing us live. Subscribe through iTunes and get alerts as soon as the podcast is available, or go to our website, hockeyunfiltered.com, and listen. Plus, check out the other cool stuff. The Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis podcast. Subscribe now through iTunes. Get your business started getting more leads. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. The number to call if you want more online leads for your business is 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization can be the difference between success and failure. It's no coincidence which businesses are listed first in Google searches. Call 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Nova Product Design is designed for manufacturing. Nova Product Design can get the job done with mechanical and industrial design. Nova Product Design is also fully functional for laser cutting, water jet cutting, plating, coatings, and more. Nova Product Design, innovative design, and the latest technologies. Nova Product Design can design, build, and test any required types of prototypes and beta units. Visit novaproductdesign.com. We're looking for your Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day nominations every Saturday. Now you can send them through Instagram. Use the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. Send us a photo of your dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate them as the HU Dog of the Day. Include your name, the dog's name, and any other cool details you want. We choose a winner and add them to the Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday. Hashtag HU Dog of the Day.
Welcome back. This is Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio, live on Facebook, Periscope, YouTube Live. Follow us on social media. We'd love the conversation and interaction, not just during the show, but all week long at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. You can check out our Facebook page as well. And please subscribe to our podcast through iTunes, through iHeartRadio, and you can download the Hockey Unfiltered app through the App Store. Before the hour is out, Stephen Laidlaw with his weekly visit for this week's Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. little help, little scoring. Steve provides you 5 names each week to keep an eye on. I've been talking a lot today about how the game is changing and evolving and improving for the better. Makes for more excitement, makes for more goal scoring, makes for more drama. I think it's all good. It also brings about questions about how you handle the change. Some people don't want anything to do with it. Oh, change, it's bad. Wrong. Change is good, provided it's the right change. It's managed properly, and it has been to crack down and accurately enforce the rule book. But as I mentioned just before the break, our friend Josh Smith from Scouting the Refs was with us yesterday. Always good information about officiating, referees, how they work, what the proper rules are, because that creates a lot of confusion. But as always, I mean, we could do hours and hours every week with Josh about rules and enforcement. But there were a couple of instances yesterday that I noticed that it sort of presented to me as this could be a bigger issue going forward. In the Tampa-Columbus contest, there was a penalty called on Ryan Murray of the Blue Jackets for interference. Now, the situation was Nikita Kucherov is cutting toward the front of the net, and Murray sticks his keister out, sticks his hip out, and Kucherov tries to sidestep him a little, and he goes ass over apple cart in front of the net. So play is whistled. The arm goes up by the referee. Play is whistled. That's an interference call. Only problem wasn't interference. Kucherov had just played the puck and pushed it toward the front of the net, hoping that he's going to regather it for a shot or a chance on goal when Murray stuck the hip out and got him. That's not interference. Now, there was an enormous explosion of contact between these two players, and as I mentioned, Kucherov kind of goes flying in the air. Boom, it's a reaction. The arm goes up. Sometimes there are big collisions. Doesn't mean they're penalties. I'm not griping. I'm not bitching. I'm just saying this is an issue that we have to pay attention to. It's a how can we fix it? How can we get more calls right? Is there something we can change? Is there something we can do better to get more calls right? Is it the positioning of the referees in the zone? Can we change that? The referee was below the goal line, kind of over towards the corner, the way Kucherov was headed on the ice. So I'm not sure that he got the best look at where the puck was in proximity to Kucherov, whether or not he had played the puck prior to being impacted by Ryan Murray's butt. It's just a question. It's just something that we need to look at. I still think that there is a place, not tomorrow, not next week, but in the future, for a spotter referee up high to watch the game from a different vantage point. I think that's going to be the future. I think you're going to have to do it because of the speed of the game. It's going to give you the best available angle. Other examples. This is just from yesterday, and this one worked the opposite way. It was the Montreal and Winnipeg game that was in overtime. Puck goes into the corner. The Jets send it into the Montreal end. The puck goes into the corner, and Dustin Byfuglien of the Winnipeg Jets moves into the corner to play the puck, except he gets dumped. I think it was by Max Pacioretty. So the puck winds its way around the net, bounces out in front. Pacioretty slams it home, and that's the game-winning goal. Now, needless to say, the Winnipeg Jets were apoplectic that this goal was going to be allowed to count, and there was no penalty called on the play. Dustin Byfuglien kind of freaks on the ref, understandably so. The call is amplified, of course, because, well, the result of the play is that the puck winds up in the net and the Habs wind up with a 5-4 overtime victory. One official, one referee is in the neutral zone. The other, like the play I talked about in Tampa, the official is on the opposite side of the ice, kind of stationed between the goal line. Again, is this a positioning issue? Is there a better way for officials to look at it? And it's harder in overtime because it's 3-on-3. So the play is moving up and down the ice in a lot faster clip. This is something that we need to look at. Positioning is important. Players talk about it. Coaches talk about it. It's vital to success. Same thing with officials. Is there something we can do better? Maybe we need to change the positioning of the officials on the ice, or my example. And this is going to happen in the future, and I'll smile proudly when it does. There's going to be a view from above that's going to have to be looked. Hockey's a unique game. It can't be like others where you only look from ice level. You're going to have to look at it from above. I can see an experiment. Ref watches from above. Maybe he's got TV. Maybe he's got video available as well. You have communication with the officials on the ice. Same way that NFL officials do. They can communicate with one another. One more incident about officiating. This one in the Jets-Habs game as well. Montreal got kind of a break on their second goal. Habs are on the power play. Shot goes in towards the Winnipeg goal. Connor Hellebuyck scoops it up, snags it in his glove. Andrew Shaw, doing what he's supposed to, being the pest that he is, knocks the puck out of the glove. Hellebuyck had it. Shaw knocked it out of the glove. And it wound up in the back of the net. This is another one of those things that play should have been over, but it wasn't, and it winds up in the back of the net. Sometimes you get it right. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you're going to catch it. Sometimes you're going to miss it. I get that. And the question again is there a better way? Is there something that we can do to get more calls right? This one will open up a can of worms, but maybe you got to go to video on this one. Maybe it is also like the NFL. Maybe you have a reviewing process for each goal that goes in. It's got to be verified that it went into the net legally. Kind of the way the NFL reviews all scoring plays, whether the player actually made it across the line into the end zone, that kind of thing. Maybe you have to look at something like that. These are just questions, but these are things that are going to need further discussion as we move forward. Because the game's only getting faster, more skill, more talent, more ability. It creates more questions that you have to be able to innovate and keep up with the speed of the game. At Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports. The Twitter and Instagram handles, Todd@hockeyunfiltered.com is the email address. In our final segment, Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, with this week's Fantasy 5 all coming up. Help for you in your fantasy hockey pool. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, back after the break.
The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more. Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis sends you to the biggest events at the best prices. This year, we've partnered with Seat Giant to give you special deals on tickets to NHL games, concerts, or other events. Simply go to SeatGiant.com, find the tickets you want. When you check out, use the promo code TODD for a special discount. That's promo code TODD for a special discount. Start saving with SeatGiant.com on your next purchase. Being on the World Wide Web is great. Being found is the tricky part. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Search engine optimization is the only way your business can get a leg up on the competition. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. For the necessary tools to make your business stand out in a crowded marketplace, 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now it's even easier to nominate your dog as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day. We do it every Saturday. Send us a photo on Twitter or now on Instagram with the hashtag HU Dog of the Day. We choose a winner every Saturday. That's simple. Now on Instagram or Twitter, send us the photo using the hashtag HU Dog of the Day, and your dog could be the one added to our gallery on the website and Facebook page. It's the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day every Saturday.
Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis, Sunday edition, here every Saturday and Sunday at 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific, streaming live at hockeyunfiltered.com, powered by Primetime Radio, at Hockey Unfiltered, at Todd Lewis Sports, the Twitter and Instagram handles. The Twitter handle of our next guest is at Steve Laidlaw. He is the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, also contributes to Sportsnet, and this, though, is the only place you will get the Fantasy Five. Hashtag Fantasy Five. Steve has 5 names for you every week to help you in your fantasy hockey pool. Good day, Steve. How are you? Good week in fantasy hockey. I think I'm doing okay. I had good goaltending this week, which certainly helps a lot.
Well, you got to have that good goaltending.
Yes, I did get good goaltending this week, and I'm pleased about it. So let's get to this week's Fantasy Five. Name number 1. I was talking about him a couple of weeks ago and giggling to myself all the time I did. His name is Tim Heed of the San Jose Sharks, and I was giggling because all I could think of was the 90s movie So I Married an Axe Murderer and Mike Myers' father, who spoke with a Scottish accent and made fun of his other son with a big Heed. But you like him as a fantasy pickup.
Yeah, he's a really dynamic option for the Sharks. They're using him on the point on their top power play unit, and they've shuffled Burns over slots on the left hash marks there. And we're seeing a lot of teams moving away from 2 defensemen on the top power play unit. But I mean, Burns is essentially a forward. We've seen him play forward in the past, and just with how dynamic. He playing the point, he's got a big shot and he can get it on net, but he's also an effective puck mover. He's playing more like third line minutes, but with top power play unit opportunity, that's a really good spot for him. And we know he can the point per game at the AHL level last season. He's a seasoned veteran in his mid-20s. He's played a lot of pro hockey over in Europe before coming over to North America. So he's a guy who's ready to produce for you right away, in the spot that he's currently in. He some good shot volume, currently putting up 2 shots on goal per game. That's going to be fantasy relevant in every format.
Name number 2 on Steve Laidlaw's Fantasy 5 this week is Gabriel Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche. Avs having themselves a pretty good season, and Gabriel Landeskog also starting to produce to your liking.
Yeah, he's starting to pick it up a little bit. We saw, the hot line for the Avs is the McKinnon line with Mikko Rantanen. Those are their 2 best players. And at the start of the season, it was Sven Andrighetto. Currently, we're seeing Gabriel Landeskog, and we know he's a good guy for rotisserie leagues. He puts up a ton of penalty minutes, shots on goal, hits, that sort of thing. And if he can chip in with some points, then suddenly he's a guy who you're not just streaming him in for peripheral categories. He might actually get you some points too.
This is the Fantasy 5, hashtag Fantasy 5, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis. Our guest is Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com. Name number 3 on the list is Boone Jenner of the Columbus Blue Jackets. Was hurt at the start of the year, but you think he's worthy of another look now?
Absolutely. Currently on a 3-game scoring streak. See really good usage for him back in front of the net on their top power play unit, spot that he was in a couple seasons ago when he put up. So we know he's capable of being very productive. Another guy who's an awesome option for rotisserie type leagues. He's going to pile up penalty minutes and hits and that sort of thing. Really good indicator of future production. He's putting up almost 3 shots on goal per game as well, as one of the better net front guys in the league. So as long as he's getting top power play minutes, I think he could be a useful option for a lot of folks.
And name number 4 from Steve this week is a defenseman for the Minnesota Wild. That would be Jared Spurgeon, who you like to also contribute a little bit from the back end.
Yeah, absolutely. Defensemen who can put up 2 shots on goal per game are always good options. There's not too many of them that exist in fantasy leagues. He's currently a really nice start with 9 points in 12 games. I'm not sure he's going to keep up quite that pace, but I mean, he could easily put up 45 points. He's starting to edge out Ryan Suter as the best fantasy option on the Minnesota Wild, who are being paired together in a lot of situations, including on power play units. So again, those top power play minutes are fantasy production, especially with penalties up this year.
And one more name with the many injuries of the Anaheim Ducks. If you're looking for a little help from the Anaheim Duck squad, Andre Case is the name you have on the Fantasy 5.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's Case or Kache or how
I've heard like 4 different pronunciations.
However you want to pronounce it, plug him into your fantasy roster, and he should be fairly productive for you. Again, a guy who's seeing top power play minutes on a team that's banged up. I don't know if it's going to last all year, but 5 goals through 11 games. He's capable of shooting the crap out of the puck for you. I'm looking at his game log here. Talking about 12 shots in the last 4 games for him, so that's really productive for you. Top power play opportunity, kind of down the roster on the third line, mostly used, but he could be shuffled up at any time. Series are forcing them to look for different line combinations, and he's a guy who, even when they have gotten healthier, has stuck on the top power play unit, so definitely worth a look.
That's the Fantasy 5. Hashtag Fantasy 5 from Stephen Laidlaw, the managing editor of DobberHockey.com, contributor to Sportsnet with fantasy info and others. But this is the only place you'll find the Fantasy 5. At Steve Laidlaw is how you follow him on Twitter. Great stuff as always, Steve. Have a good week, and we'll do it again next Sunday.
Get some good goaltending, I guess. Maybe heed my advice.
Very good. There it is. Very good. Thanks, Steve. You have a good week too. The names, if you missed them, from Stephen Laidlaw, we'll tweet them out as well. We'll post them up on our Facebook page. Tim Heed of the San Jose Sharks, Gabriel Landeskog of the Colorado Avalanche, Boone Jenner of the Columbus Blue Jackets, defenseman Jared Spurgeon of the Minnesota Wild, and Andre Kasha. I think Kasha is the most correct one I've heard. I apologize for mispronouncing that. When I got the list of the names just a little while ago, and I was looking up actually the pronunciation from the NHL Media Guide, and I couldn't find it in time before I asked the question, so I apologize. But Andre Kasha, I believe, is the correct pronunciation. As mentioned, if you missed any of those, they'll be out on Twitter, they'll be out on Instagram, they'll be up on our Facebook page as well. Here's a couple of the games that we'll be looking forward to this coming week. It's a 4-game Sunday schedule, beginning with an afternoon contest with the Detroit Red Wings and the Edmonton Oilers. Edmonton seems to be moving in the right direction. They've been doing some good things. Hopefully they can keep it going. Islanders and Colorado, Montreal Canadiens, Chicago Blackhawks, Carey Price out for a while with that lower body injury. I know it's not deemed to be serious, but we've heard that before. So until we see him back and until we see him playing well, there's going to be that shadow of a doubt around Carey Price and the Montreal Canadiens. Yes, they did get a big emotional victory over the Winnipeg Jets on Saturday. Chicago also had a victory in Minnesota. Monday, games to keep an eye on: Minnesota and Boston, Columbus and Rangers. Monday night, Madison Square Garden. I think that'll be a really interesting one. Detroit continues their western swing with a game in Vancouver. St. Louis Blues, New Jersey Devils tangle on Tuesday of this coming week. Nashville is in Columbus. LA and Anaheim will be the late start for those in the East coming up on Tuesday. Wednesday, it's Minnesota, Toronto, and then the doubleheader on the national telecast for NBCSN, Boston and the Rangers, and the Tampa Bay Lightning and San Jose Sharks. Good for them showing the Tampa Bay Lightning and San Jose Sharks. That'll be an interesting one. Thursday, it is once again the rematch of Taylor Hall versus Adam Larson as the Edmonton Oilers are headed east to take on the New Jersey Devils. Chicago and Philly will be a good matchup. Tampa and LA will be a good matchup on Thursday, and Vancouver and Anaheim. How about them Vancouver Canucks? Travis Green got them playing well, and they're doing it with young players. Henrik and Daniel played fewer than 9 minutes in the Vancouver Canucks victory on Saturday night. Fewer than 9 minutes for the Vancouver Canucks as they defeated the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-2. And you know what?
Nobody's griping about it, including the Sedins. Wait for the trade suggestions to start again, but they're not going to happen. Thanks to Stephen Laidlaw. Thanks to Justin Goldman. Thanks to Scott Billeck. Thanks to Erik Erlendsson, all for joining us on the program. We'll be back again next Saturday and Sunday, 11 Eastern, 8 a.m. Pacific. Don't forget our Little Saturday podcast coming up on Wednesday. Subscribe through iTunes and download the Hockey Unfiltered app at the App Store. Have a great week of hockey. Back with you again next weekend.
There's special savings for Hockey Unfiltered listeners with our new ticket partner, Seat Giant. And Canadian fans can also purchase in Canadian dollars. Go to SeatGiant.ca, find the tickets you're looking for. Doesn't matter if it's NHL games, concerts, or any other event. You get a special discount with the promo code TODD. That's Todd with 2 Ds. Just enter the code, get the discount, you save. That's simple. Save on your next ticket purchase with Hockey Unfiltered and Seat Giant. The best way to get set for the busy Saturday night of hockey is with Hockey Primetime. Beginning at 5 p.m. Eastern, host Connor McKenna whips you around the league for the latest stories and info leading up to the early game starts. Plus, he'll give his own spin on the biggest stories in the National Hockey League. Hockey Primetime with Connor McKenna. Sometimes serious, sometimes a little goofy, but always interesting. Listen live at hockeyprimetime.com, 5 p.m. Eastern every Saturday. Search engine optimization is the key to success for your online business. It can be the key to success for any business. 1-844-SEO-LEAD is the number to call to get your business at the top of all searches. An official partner of Google, they have the tools necessary to make your business the one people notice first. 1-844-SEO-LEAD. Now you can nominate your dog or any dog you love as the Hockey Unfiltered Dog of the Day through Instagram. Every Saturday, Hockey Unfiltered with Todd Lewis will take your nominations for the Dog of the Day. Use the hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Send us a photo with the dog on Twitter or Instagram to nominate your dog. We choose a winner at the end of the show, and your dog will be recognized in the HU Dog of the Day gallery on our website and Facebook page. Hashtag #HUDogoftheDay. Creativity and innovation are the hallmarks of Nova Product Design. Whether it's mechanical or industrial, cutting-edge technology and a commitment to excellence make Nova Product Design the company to choose. Prototypes and beta units are a Nova Product Design specialty. Striving for revolutionary new ideas and methods keep Nova Product Design at the forefront of innovation. Visit novaproductdesign.com and learn more.